welcome to my channel. This is Jay from Coding with Jaybird, where I upload weekly tutorials to help build your confidence in coding. This is part 11 of my video series, JavaScript for Beginners. We're going to be covering conditionals today and how we write them. Let's get started. As you can see, I've created a JS conditionals folder here on my desktop. Let's go ahead and open that in VS Code. I've made a conditional.html file, which I've opened in my Chrome browser using Live Server. Now, here within this folder, you can see I have some simple CSS styling, and I have a JS folder with a main.js in which we're going to be doing most of our coding. So what are JavaScript conditionals? Well, JavaScript conditionals allow us to make decisions in our code. We're able to reach an outcome based on the decision that's made in the code. Now, common types of conditional statements are if, else, and else if. Now, there's also something called switch statements, which I'll get into in a later tutorial. For today's lesson, I want to focus on the if, else, and else if. All right, let's start coding now. What I'm going to do is use the prompt function, and I'm going to store the value or the answer that the user puts in the prompt in a variable called coding. So I'm going to say let coding equal prompt, and inside prompt I'm going to put in a question or some kind of statement in a string. Do you like to code? So when I save this, we're going to see a window pop up here on the right in our browser, and it's asking the user, do you like to code? And then whatever answer I put in here is going to be stored in this variable coding. Now I can take that answer, and based on what the user puts in, whether it be a yes or no, I'm not sure, whatever that answer may be, I can alert the user with some different outputs. So I can send an alert to the user saying, oh, that's great that you like to code, or that's too bad, you should try coding. So this is a perfect example of a conditional because we're allowing the user to make a decision, and based on whatever decision the user makes, we're going to have a different outcome. All right. So let's actually write our conditional. So our conditional statement starts with an if. So if, and then we put something, meaning the condition itself, in round brackets, and then we follow this by curly braces. So if whatever is in these round brackets is true, then do whatever is within these curly braces. So what we're testing for here is we want to see if coding, so the answer that the user puts in here, if that equals yes. So if it equals yes, now we use a double equals here. If coding equals yes, we want to send an alert to the user saying, I don't know, let's say great answer. Now, what if the user puts in something else? Like let's say they put in the answer no. Now what we can do is we can say else if. So else if something else that's in our brackets, so our round parentheses, and then curly braces. So here we could say else if coding equals no, or coding equals I'm not sure, whatever we suspect that the user will put in. So another common answer might be no. So if coding equals no, no, then I'd like to alert the user, sorry to hear, you should give it a try. Let's give this a try now. I'm going to save this, and we can see here on the right, the prompt has come up asking the user, do you like to code? So let's try yes. And when I hit OK, we get an alert saying great answer. It means that we are caught in this block of code because coding equals yes. So we're alerting to the user, great answer. Now I'm just going to click OK here. And when I reload the page with my Command R, I'm going to be prompted to answer the question again, do you like to code? So this time, let's test out our no command. So if I type in no, I'm going to get the alert saying, sorry to hear, you should give it a try. So we've effectively caught this block of code because coding now equals no. Now, what if I put something else in? So if I reload this and now I test, I'm not sure. Nothing happens. So we need to have something that's going to capture another message that the user might put in that may not be a yes or a no, because the user may say something like, I'm not sure. So that's where we would use else. Else doesn't have around parentheses after it because else simply means anything that is not caught prior to this. So if coding does not equal yes, and if coding does not equal no, then we fall into the else block. So the else doesn't need the round brackets, it simply needs our curly braces. And here I'm going to alert something different to the user. So let's say alert, our string, try answering yes or no. And I saved that. And now when I type something like, I'm not sure, I'm going to get into this else block that says, try answering yes or no. Now there's also something called the ternary operator. It's a more short and condensed way of writing the same bit of code. So let's practice that as well. Our ternary operator, looks like this. We basically have some condition, and if the condition is true, the outcome of that condition is going to be placed after this question mark. So basically, there's going to be a condition. If that condition is true, then do whatever follows the question mark. Else, do whatever is in the else block, which follows the colon. Now, this won't make much sense yet, so let's practice it to make some sense of this. So now what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to say coding equals yes. So that's my first condition, just like I've done here. Coding equals yes. So coding equals yes. If coding equals yes, then I'm going to have a question mark. If this equals yes, then do whatever follows the question mark. So now I can simply do this. Alert, great answer. So alert, great answer. Now, what if I want to do the next statement? I also want to check if coding equals no. Then I'm going to have an else. Else check to see if, and then I'm going to put my next conditional. Coding equals no. So if this condition is now met, I'm going to have a question mark. And then if this condition is met, then do whatever follows the question mark. So I'm going to copy this whole section of code. Alert, sorry to hear, you should give it a try, and paste that in there. Now, if I want there to be an else, I'll simply have to put in a semicolon, and I won't put a condition here. I'll just type in alert, try answering yes or no. Let's comment this bit of code out, and let's save this. And you can see the prompt comes up again asking us if we like to code. So let's say I'm going to say no. I'm going to get an alert saying, sorry to hear, you should give it a try. So once again, what we're doing is we're checking to see if this condition is met. If this condition is true, then do whatever follows the question mark, which is all of this. The colon means else. Check to see if coding equals no. And if coding equals no, then do what follows the question mark, which we just saw here. Sorry to hear, you should give it a try. Else, if none of those are true, we want to alert the user, try answering yes or no. So let's test that one out as well. Let's say maybe. And when I hit OK, we can see we are in this block of code, try answering yes or no. So ternary operators are great when you have a short set of if or else statements and you don't have too many mathematical calculations or too much happening inside of it. It makes your code more short and concise, and it's just easier to read as well. Now I'm going to try something a little different. I'm going to nest some if-else statements within an if. So let's comment this bit of code out as well so that we can have another conditional. So I'll say nested conditionals. Conditional. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to see what type of coding language the user likes. So let's say the user says that yes, they do like to code. I want to ask them, okay, what language do you like to code in? Otherwise, if they don't like to code, I still want to have the same conditions as before. So I'm going to start with my if coding equals yes condition. Oops, I need the capital Y. Now note that this is case sensitive. So if I had put in lowercase y in my answer on the right in the browser, I would not be catching this conditional and I wouldn't be in this block of code. Okay, so if coding equals yes, as usual, I'm going to alert to the user, great answer. Now, if the user types in yes, I'm going to be in this block of code. And what I want to do is I want to ask the user what their favorite coding language is. So I'm going to have another prompt here. So let the variable language equal the answer from prompt. What is your favorite coding language? And now what I can do is I can have another series of if-else statements here. So I can say if something, then alert something, else alert something else, or do something else. So my first if, I'm going to say if language equals JavaScript, then I want to alert to the user, me too. Now, if it's not JavaScript, so let's say it's PHP or Python, then what I want to do is I want to have a different alert to the user. I want to capture the answer, so let's say whatever language they entered in, and I want to put that in my statement. So I'm going to say language, and using concatenation, I'm going to join it with is a good choice too. Okay, so I've got this this outer if statement, which checks to see if coding is true, and if it is, it does another conditional statement within it. And like the previous example up here, I'm going to have very similar else ifs down here. So if coding is yes, then do that. Else if coding equals no, then do what we did before, which is alert to the user. Sorry to hear, you should give it a try. And let's not forget else, which will capture any other answer that the user may put in. Try answering yes or no. All right, so let's test out this bit of code. And I'm being prompted, do you like to code? So let's test out our no value first. And it works. So if I say no, sorry to hear, you should give it a try. Okay, perfect. Now let's reload the page. This time I'm going to say yes. Now if I say yes, it says great answer. So we're getting this line of code. And now when I hit OK, I'm being prompted once again, what is your favorite coding language? So now I'm going to type in JavaScript. JavaScript. And when I hit OK, I should be in this block of code. So I should get an alert saying me too. Perfect, it works. Me too. Okay, so let's reload the page again. And this time again, I'll say, yes, I like to code. But let's try a different language. Let's say PHP is my favorite coding language. And here we are in line 34. And we have captured PHP and concatenated it with is a good choice too. That's it for today's video on JavaScript conditionals. I hope you've enjoyed watching these videos. I've really had a good time making them. If you've enjoyed them, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button so I can continue to make more videos for you in the weeks to come. Until next week, keep on coding.